Walking on the pavement holding my grandma's hand, I smiled widely looking at the tree leaves changing their color from green to yellow, orange, red and brown shades. Feeling the morning crisp and cold air, 7-year-old me held my grandma's hand tightly in the hope of some warmth. She looked at me and gave me a worn smile, which I returned with the same warmth. "Are you excited to go apple picking, Lucas?" she asked. "Yes, Grandma," I said enthusiastically, and she laughed at my excitement. "You know, I also used to go apple picking with my grandma when I was at your age." "Really, that amazing?" I said. "Yes, we are here, my boy," she said, pointing towards our left, and my eyes brightened as soon as I saw all the beautiful apple trees full of apples. "Wow. Hello, Edie." An old man approached towards us. "Good morning, Jack," Grandma replied, and looking at me, keeping a hand on my head, she said, "This is my grandson Lucas, and he is Jack, my friend and owner of this farm." Grandma introduced us. "Hey, little man," Jack said, giving me a smile. "Hey, old man," I said with a smile, and both Jack and Grandma laughed. "You are definitely not a little boy. So is this your first time to go apple picking?" "Yes, it is, and I am really excited," I said and smiled at my grandma. "Okay, then go ahead and have fun, both of you," Jack said, patting my back. "Thank you, Jack, I will meet you before leaving," Grandma said. "All right," Jack replied. "Come on, Lucas, get go," Grandma said, taking my hand in her one hand and baskets in another. We both walked towards the trees, and I was feeling amazing. Apple trees and red apples in those green clouds is definitely a beautiful sight to see. "Take this basket and collect the apple in this," Grandma said, handing me a basket. I took the basket and ran to a tree. Keeping the basket down, I jumped and plucked an apple. I smiled widely and looked at Grandma. "Good," she said, smiling at me. Because of her height, she was able to pluck all the apples which were on the top, and because I am small, I was only plucking the apple which were hanging low. I remembered how Oliver and Mia laughed at me. Tears started welling up in my eyes as I remembered. "You are so short." "Ha ha ha. I am a girl, but I am tall than you." "Ha ha ha. You can never be tall like us." "Ha ha ha." "Lucas?" I turned my head to see my grandma kneeling down in front of me with worried expressions. "Are you okay, Lucas?" "Why are you crying?" she asked, sniffing. I said, "All my friends tease me because I am short. They say I will never become tall like them," I said as tears flooded through my eyes. Wiping my tears, Grandma held my face in her hands and said, "Anyone can count the seeds in the apple, but only God can count apples in a seed," she said, but I didn't understand anything. "What does that mean, Grandma?" I didn't understand, I asked her confusingly. "That means trust God. God knows everything and anything that no one knows. Maybe when you grow older you will be the tallest guy among your friends. God is looking at everyone and he punishes bad people in his ways. Trust God," she said. Giving her a smile, I wiped my tears and again started plucking the apple. Grandma copied me after kissing my temple. I love being with Grandma. But it's only rare time my parents allow me to meet Grandma. This fall I really cried a lot to make them allow me to stay with Grandma for some days. She really loves me, takes care of me, and I love her too, maybe because I am her only grandchild, and she is my only grandmother. As soon as I plucked another apple, one saw a worm. Throwing the apple away, I screamed loudly. "What happened?" Grandma said, and I ran to her saying, "Grandma, there was a worm on the apple." "It's okay, Lucas, it happens sometimes," she said while smiling at me. "Now I am not going to pluck any apples from that tree, maybe all the apples have worms from that tree," I said, picking my half-filled apple basket and moving to another tree. Grandma came to me and smiled before saying, "Just because you find one bad apple doesn't mean you should give up on the whole tree. But what if the apples from that tree are all having worms? How would know if you don't see or try? First try and then decide," she said. Okay, I said understandingly. After some time our baskets were full of apples. We both collected many apples, and they were all beautiful red which looked delicious to eat. Smiling at her I gestured her to sit on her knees so we can be face to face. Understanding my gestures she sat on her knees looking at me with. Grandma, you are the most amazing grandmother I would ever have. I love you so much. You teach me good things every time I come to meet you. Today you gave me lessons to trust God and to try before deciding. I love you, I said, stretching my hands to tell her how much I said I love you this much, Grandma. She laughed and wiped her tears, which I think were happy tears. Right? I love you too, my grandson, my Lucas. She said and hugged me tightly. Keeping my head on her shoulder and my arms around her neck, I hugged her too. Thinking how beautiful the day went and I will be able to eat those apples, which I have plucked with my own hand when we reach our home, I smiled widely. It was an amazing apple picking day with my grandma.